Alright.
I'm Lane.
I'm Dominique.
I'm Zakia.
I'm Ashley.
Angel.
And I'm Tyrell. All the way in the cut.
So, I guess we can start with, question 1. According to the article, The Five Sexes Revisited by Anne Waustow Sterling, why is the two-sex system embedded in our society not adequate to capture the full spectrum of human sexuality?
Well, I feel like it doesn't cover everything. It's just going one or the other, and then now there's all these different names, like the firms, y'all said, and the terms, and all that stuff. I feel like it's not, like, touching on everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like it's embedded just because, like, people are just used to, like, male and female. And like we talked about earlier, like, we have to, like, put people in a category. So that's mainly why it's, like, embedded in our society.
I think it's so embedded because, I guess from, like, ancient times, we're so used to, like, rely on religion. You know, the Bible, they say man and woman was created. So in their mind, because God made man and woman in the beginning, it can only be a man and woman. But really, biology-wise, like, people come out having both genitalia or having XXY or, you know, for some other reason, they are born male and female. So you have to take into account those people. You can't just say somebody's either male or female.
Well, I think, the issue with that is the condition is so rare, so people may not really be educated or they don't really pay attention to it, so it kind of just
and people don't like change.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was rare because they're saying people born intersex are more common than albinoism.
Yeah.
But it's just that people are so taboo. People don't want to talk about it, so we think it's rare, but it's really, like, really, really common.
Yeah,
I think it might be so rare now is because they operate so much on it and try to change it and, like, make it man or woman. So it's like, now we're like, oh, well, we have to do this, we got to do this, so they just don't talk about it.
And people don't like things like they don't understand. Like, they treat, like, people with, like, the intersex people, like, as things and not, like, really human. I don't know. I just kind of felt like they kind of monsterized them a little bit. I just didn't like how they do it. Like, we're going to fix you, and there's nothing wrong with them. I didn't like that.
Well, I guess, too, it goes back to what's normal, or what people consider to be as normal. It's so-called normal to have, you know, females and males, and I guess because it's so-called normal, society sees it as normal, that it's rare, like how you were saying, Tyrell, to have intersex on the gender spectrum.
It's the majority. It's male or female is the majority, and then anything that's not as equal gets put off as something different. But I think, too, it keeps us in groups. Because it's easier to look at things in groups. So you have a male group and you have a female group, and it's easier to lump everybody into two instead of just letting everybody do their own thing. Your government's going to track you one way or another, so they might as well lump you somewhere.
That's the second question. According to the article, The Five Sexes Revisited, Anne Waustow Sterling writes, in the idealized platonic biological world, human beings are divided into two kinds of perfectly dimorphic species. That idealized story papers over many obvious caveats. Thank you. What specifically are the caveats? Caveats. In what way specific examples from the text does absolute dimorphism disintegrate even the level of basic biology? Excuse me, it's kind of hard to see.
He kind of basically talked about as far as the caveats. It's basically like how women would have a deep voice and men would have like a soft-spoken tone or a squeaky voice, and women would have facial hair and men won't have facial hair.
So it's like the opposite?
Like a reverse thing,
okay.
Yeah. What's the second part of the question?
Examples. I know she talked about John Joanne, I think that was that name. And how, like, he was born, I think, a pseudo-hermaphrodite. I'm not sure exactly what is that hermaphrodite, but either way.
Something like that.
It was the one, like, where they turned into a woman.
Right. He grew up as, like, they raised him as a female, and, like, they had him, like, the surgery done, everything else. And to find out that's not really what it was. And so now I think he's going into being John.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
But-
like
He went for
transforming.
John.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like and then they were talking about how I remember one thing they were talking about, like they were looking at it like he was a success because he was living as a woman. Kind of find out when we got the I think like the early 20s, it was like no, just not who I want to be. So I think that right there is like how it kind of disintegrates absolute dimorphism because it's not really completely male or female.
Yeah, and it talks about too, like how most of them, like even when they do give them like their sex change, like when they are in like their late 20s, early 30s, they do end up like rejecting their title.
Right.
So like how the guy
Yeah.
did, what was his name?
Max.
Max.
Yesterday.
He's in here too.
Okay.
This is so funny, but Special Victims Unit, like you know that show. There was one about like twins like this.
And
It's
it
the
was a
same story
story.
like this, and it's crazy. Like I think in one of the questions it says something about like how does it affect the long term, and it's funny because they're like, oh, this was a success, but like just because something in medical history, they thought, oh, well, since it's so young, you can change it, and then you see that show, and then you read about it, and you're like that's not how it is. Like it's such a psychological thing. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe like another reason why I make disintegrate is because it goes back to people categorizing each other. So sexual dimorphism, there's only male and female. So when they think of genitalia, they think of penis and vagina. They don't think of the possibility of having maybe both sex and genitalia. So I think that's how it kind of disintegrates.
Yeah. Okay. Next question.
The mouse is under your book.
According to the article, The Five Sexes, revised by Anne Fresco Sterling, how have we intersex babies been treated since 1950?
Oh wait, 8, 9, oh, I was looking cool.
What happened?
She's trying to see what group we were in.
Well, I know they were talking about how like babies when they came out, they were like, okay, this has to be changed, this has to be corrected, and like the doctors gave him a assigned gender. He was like, if you reassign a baby within the first, I think, 18 months, and then raise them as that assigned gender, then it would be fine. They would grow up to be healthy females, males. But it was like, really in actuality, if you looked at it, it would say they were successes only if they were like heterosexual in their assigned gender. But in actuality, if you keep looking, most of them change or go through some mental breakdown because of that.
And I also talked about like the parents too. Like, so further down in the reading, it talks about like it should be looked at more as counseling, like, and not go ahead and do surgery. Like, give the parents a little bit, give the child some, and then like try to live life as they can, and not just say, oh well, you have to keep on doing this. You have to be socialized as this. Like,
Well, there's even children that are born that are just, male or female. They have the genitals, and it seems like a normal child. Then they get older and they don't feel like they were born right, like it was a mistake. So, if you can have that and are the normal gender, then why couldn't you, if you were born with both, have the same thing? And if you go ahead and fix it at birth, and then nobody tells you, then you grow up thinking, oh God, I'm a man in a woman's body, when it might just be both, and nobody ever told you. And so, yeah, it might work fine until they're older, and like Max, was it Max or Joan that got their birth certificate, and then boom, there it is. I'm actually this, and then you start to question, am I really? So I mean, maybe the parents should just leave it alone. And then when they're older, and not
let them
teenagers,
decide,
but adults,
then
they
What kind of confused me, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like when it talked about like the parent, like the doctor, like keeping it from the parents and like not really explaining.
If that's not,
I was just kind of confused about that. I'm like, how do you not know? And like, why would you not want to like protect your child from
because it depends on, like, I have 2 children, and I had a C-section, so with the second baby, by the time you get to see them, they're wrapped up, and then they brush them away, and then you pass out because you're sleepy. And then you may not, they
But
may
would you
not
not have to like
surgery.
sign off on?
So they're not
surgery?
I mean, you have to sign. You have to sign
should.
off on when your son is circumcised. You have to sign off on
Yeah.
that because something can go wrong and Like, I know that's what happened with John. Like, no, it was the twins.
It was
Like,
twins,
he lost his penis because of circumcision
Yes.
going wrong. So, I know you have to start off on something.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, it was just like, you came out, and as the doctors thought, well, you look more like you have a vagina than a penis, we're going to make you a girl. But it's like, oh, you look more like a penis, might as well just make you a boy. Because it's obviously what nature wants. That's what the book saying. It's like,
Like,
obviously wanted
surgically
nature
It's
to.
what nature,
Sense.
what was
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah, and carrying out nature's process. I
At
think
some
it's
point,
what it said.
Yeah.
There wasn't ethics
Something
codes
like that.
for everything.
Yeah, going back to the parents, I feel like that's a really good idea. The parents should just let them be. Because I know, one example I really love that's recent is Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Their daughter, healthy baby girl, she's growing up a girl, but she's like, I feel like I should be a boy. Like, and they let her express herself, himself, the way he wants to be expressed. I feel like that's the best way to go about not having that psychological breakdown. If you allow the person to say, this is what I want to be, so this is how I'm going to express myself to the world and everybody around me.
Yeah, because sorry, go ahead, Turner.
You go ahead.
I mean, because after all, like, we're all human, you know, and I feel like if you're making a decision that God was supposed to make, who are you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that, like how you were saying, that's unethical. You can't make a decision about who someone wants to become and who someone, you know, wants to identify with.
You can't say it's like a mistake.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it has to do with like women, their excitement or obsession with getting pregnant.
Yeah.
I want to have a little girl, or I want to have a little boy. So when they do have a little girl, have a little boy, and that little girl, little boy doesn't want to be what the parent wants them to be, and that, you know, creates
And I
more.
think it's like societal pressure too. Like, you don't want your kid to be like different. You want to be like everybody else. You want them to be accepted, and I guess that's kind of too like the mentality of the parent, like trying to get them fixed. So.
Okay, number 4.
Oh, number
4, yeah.
It's hard to see even with my glasses.
According to the article, The Five Sexes Revisited by Anne Sterling, the revelation of cases of failed reassignment under the John Money model led some in the medical community to re-examine the wisdom of early genital surgery. What is the prevailing view among doctors today? Note that there are competing views, the Victorian model and the more progressive model pioneered by medical ethicist Lawrence McCall. And what cases should sex reassignment be performed, avoided? Well, first of all, as a person who wants to have children, if my child came out in intersex, don't touch my child. Leave my child alone. If you do, I'm going to sue you because I didn't give you the permission to do it. Secondly, I know the book was saying it should only be performed if it's like life-threatening.
Yeah.
Like your child is literally going to peel over and die if you don't have the surgery. Then, okay, you have my permission. But if my child is healthy, the only thing that's wrong with them is they're intersex, leave them alone. Because I'm the type of person, I feel like everybody has a voice in how they want to live their life. It's not my job as a parent, as a person, as a doctor to say you should live this way. My job is to make sure you're healthy, you're happy, and you're loved. That's it. So other than that, other than life-threatening cases, you should leave them alone.
And they also said that maybe like it could have something to do with them possibly identifying with the gender that the doctor gives them. But my thing about reading this, like, how can you tell?
Yeah.
Right.
How can you tell if someone's going to identify with the gender?
It's the thing
At 3 minutes old, you can't tell. You
No.
don't know.
And the thing I did like, I think it mentioned like something about like trying to help like the parents and like the child like through the process, like just not surgical, but like giving like a team of people, like a psychologist, and you know, like let them know it's okay, and like I kind of like the fact that it said stuff about that instead of like surgery, you know.
Well, then it's a question of what if they don't want the baby? I mean, what if it comes out and they say, okay, I'm not equipped to handle this, and they don't want the child, and then the child is going to have to go to foster care. And see, with the parents, you can get them counseling support groups, we'll talk it out, we'll work it out. You know, because eventually the child's going to go through the teenage years, they're going to get picked on, normal children get picked on. And so, you know, then there's parents to walk them through it. But what if you don't have parents? You're a ward of the state. State don't care about you. And so who's going to walk them through that? So then I wonder if it's not best then to just assign a gender. Because it's already going to be a hard life. I mean, from the time they say they don't
I
want
kind
you.
of feel like that would make it harder. I mean, I think it just confused them more. I don't know.
I think it's sad that they have to like pick a gender.
Yeah, I do
like they
too.
can't just do what they want. They can't wear what they want or like talk how they want or do what they want or play with things that they want. Like it's sad because they're sitting there, well, you have to do this, so you're gonna have to dress this way.
Deciding their life for
Yeah,
That's why I feel
and
like
it's sad.
gender neutral everything, gender neutral names, gender
Yeah.
neutral clothing, gender neutral colors. Like, if just because you have a son doesn't mean he wants to play with monster trucks and Legos. Because you have a daughter doesn't mean she wants to be a princess and dress like Cinderella. I mean, I feel like when you were saying like if the parent doesn't want, I think that then is when you should really consider, okay, maybe we should raise them. Tell the state this is a female. Don't give them the surgery, but just say, hey, this is a female or this is a male, because that way it's not as hard for them to adjust to being someone who's going through adoption and being in foster care. I know they just place you with a family and say, okay, well, here's them. This is what they need. Do what you got to do. So I know that's why in that sense, I still don't say you should have the surgery, but I still think you should give them a gender assignment just for the time being, since they are a ward of the state.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I don't know, like when you think about it, they're almost like intersex children are people almost treated like experiments or like items or
Test
like
dummies.
test subjects, and it's sad. Like I mean, I never really put into thought how serious a situation or a topic like this was, like before this class, which is why I took this class. Because when you think about it, me being a woman, like, you just live in life. You don't really think about what's really going on,
It's natural to you.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm just my personal example, because I have so many examples. But I know I grew up being taught I was male. Boys played with dirt. They play with trucks. They don't play with Barbies. I love playing with my sister's Barbies. I remember get on my sister's Barbie and do her hair, but I was told no. I was actually punished for I was threatened to be like. My mom said, "Well, do you want to be a girl? Like, do you want me to put you on a dress and make you go outside and walk?" Like, that's how I was raised. And then when I went to foster care, and my guardian, she was like, "Boys don't play with makeup. Boys don't. They watch sports. Boys don't do this. They go outside and they run and they sweat." And I was like, I never liked that. So but I was still forced to be as a male. So when I got older and I started discovering my step, I was like, I don't really prescribe to this male gender. Like, things that males do. I mean, I love college basketball. Like, I like watching college basketball.
But everyone loves basketball.
Right.
It's not like
so, when I decided, was given the opportunity to decide my own gender, I just went neutral. Because I was like, I don't really feel like I'm a man, but I don't really feel like I'm a woman either. I feel like somewhere in the
You're
middle.
A lady boy.
Right, I'm a lady boy. Like, I don't really feel, I mean, though I have male genitalia, I have my chromosomes, I think, are XY and my but I still feel like in the middle. So if I, as someone who's perceived to be normal, can feel like that, then I'm pretty sure intersex people also, once they decide to get to the age where they're like, this is who I am, then they should have that experience. I mean, it's very traumatic. Cause I mean, I went through a depression stage where I was just like, I hate myself because I was forced to be male, but I didn't feel like I was a complete male. So, I mean, if you force somebody to be in a specific gender, you're not doing them any good. You're doing more harm than you're doing good.
Wow.
I just think it's sad that that we can't be more accepting. It's just sad.
I think society should definitely
Let them know that it's
change.
Okay. Yeah.
Because one, it's like the 21st century. Two, if you go into Walmart and you look at the toys, my little brother's birthday was,
Blue.
Coming up, and I was like, he turned 3, and I was like, I don't want to get him what a boy, what they think boys should play. So I want to get him something educational, and it was so hard. I went to Target, I went to Walmart. It was so hard. It was either toys or ladybugs or whatever. It was really, really hard. And I think that's just how the world is shaped. It's not made for neutral. Yeah, and I don't think that's
if y'all look in around Christmas, the magazines come out the toy catalogs.
Yeah,
one of my classes,
it's so blue and it's
there was one page that could have been both maybe, but it was more to the girly. They were using the purples and stuff, and it's crazy how okay, well you have to pick this or this, and if girl, like say, I'm like kind of a tomboy. I like to ride a tractor. I like to do stuff in the dark. I like that stuff.
Yeah.
And see, when I was little, I wanted the little, the Barbie little car thing. So I wanted a tractor. Well, sitting there thinking about it, I was like, no, like you can't have that. But it's annoying because they have to separate it, and girls can't have this. They're supposed to go to the pink and the red and the purples and all this, and not that. That's annoying.
I think that leads us right into question 5 about sexuality and the fluidity of it. I feel like because a lot of times people's gender identity comes with their sexuality.
Yeah.
And so I know like with Max B, he thought he was a lesbian and he thought he was a woman, so that's how he lived his life. Now he's a man. Now he's
totally
heterosexual because, I mean, we have so many categories and like stigmas placed on someone's sexuality. Like if you're gay, and you're a man, you have to be soft and you have to be feminine and you have to be a sissy. I've been called sissy. I've been called all types of derogatory things. I'm just like, yes, I have my makeup, I have my purse, I have my nails, but don't let it fool you because just as quick as I pick up that purse, I will drop it and I will go straight man on you. So it's just, I feel like it's crazy that,
I love that.
we have to go all through this cycle of where you're gay, you have to be this. You're straight, so you have to be, hello, my name is.
Yeah.
Like that's really
even with
crazy.
that, yeah, you're right. Even with, being homosexual or lesbian or whatever, you still have that that category or that label of how you're supposed to portray yourself sexually.
Yeah.
Right.
And I finally talked to my boyfriend. I'm picking on him for a minute. Like, I finally talked him into getting a pedicure because I was like, your feet, like, they're just nasty. Like, everybody needs a pedicure. It's not like, and I don't want to, like, offend anybody. He's like, well, he's like, I just don't want to be, like, judged. He's like, I don't want to be seen as, like, feminine or weak, and I was like, you're not. I was like, if you would see how many men actually go.
Yes.
But he finally did. And he's like, okay, this is great. This is great.
Yeah, you'll be seen as clean, not feminine.
I mean, his feet are, like, nasty, but, like, he needs, everybody needs...
Oh, men's feet
Upkeep.
are
Like,
just wretched.
Yeah, exactly. They're not women. Like, they're not, like, clean and, all the stuff's out. Like, you get... Whatever.
I just hate men feet.
Exactly. I just don't like feet at all, but, like, at least I get them fixed.
And that, like, with stuff like that, as far as, like, upkeep and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and maintaining yourself, I feel like, yes, society plays a part in the two, but it's more feminized, yes, but I also feel like it has to do with the person, too.
It does, yeah. I think, they have to be comfortable with themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of people
Yeah.
The same thing, like, when people be like, people are like, well, if you're really heterosexual, someone's homosexuality shouldn't offend you, or you won't be like, oh my gosh, she's, gay, let me move away from him. Like, if you're really confident in your sexuality,
Yeah.
it wouldn't
See,
phase
one of
you.
my best friends, he's gay, and, they get along so well. I mean, they do. They get along so
I mean,
well.
it really, it's a spectrum. Like, it's fluid. Like, I mean, let's say one day, okay, I like guys. One day I might like girls. Like, it's fluid. Like, there's no, you have to be like this all the time. It's so concrete. It's
And
like
like what you said, like, it's so fluid, but then there's double standards.
There
so
is,
for
yeah.
bisexuality, it's okay for a woman to be bisexual, but for a man,
a man is seen as disgusting.
Yeah, and it's
all
okay
that,
for, like, a woman to say, oh, she's pretty, but if a guy's like, oh, he's a good
they're
looking
like, oh
dude,
man,
it's ridiculous,
Yeah.
like, the
Yeah.
I mean,
response they get.
I know I don't have any heterosexual male friends because for some reason I just don't attract to heterosexual male. But I know I've known heterosexual males who I've had sexual experiences with.
Yeah.
But if you ever ask them, like, oh, gay is just
they
the
deny.
devil, I'm going to hell, this is so disgusting. But I'm like, well, we just had this experience. I mean, I don't find you to be gay, but just realize that because it's like in the media, all you see is. You see gay whores, like you see gays being sluts, you see gays being you only see the flamboyant queens.
I was about to say, like,
right?
super flamboyant.
But there's not all gay people are flamboyant. I know
Yeah.
gay people, if you look at them right now, they can sit and talk to you for days on end. You would never know that they were gay.
It's based on
That's how my friend
personality.
Shane is, yeah. Like, he'll watch Football with Nick, and he'll go, like, see this, like, dance thing with me. I mean, that's just how she is.
Yeah.
I know, like, when you said about your boyfriend, I mean, I've had guys who've like, oh, I'm not going, like, we had like a spa day, and I forgot how old I was. It was like a spa day in the street, and a guy was like, I'm not doing that because that's gay. And I looked at them, I said, well, you're saying that's gay, but the very men you idolize in sports, in
Everyone
TV,
has petty.
they wear makeup,
Exactly. Oh
they get their
my
feet
God.
done, they get their nails done,
Yeah.
right?
They get their hair done.
Right,
The
'cause like,
men wear makeup like for
Right.
TV and stuff all the time.
that's what I would say. I don't care what rapper you say. If they're going on somebody's TV, they're sitting in front of somebody's mirror and
Yeah,
their
get their
makeup
makeup
done.
done, yeah.
So it's not a gay thing. And I feel like it's like across cultures it changes. Because I know in, I think it's Japan, I would be looked at as perfectly fine because seeing a man in makeup is like
it's normal.
It's
Yeah.
normal, and I
Yeah.
know this is country is like what they call the 5-5 fee.
Yeah.
Where it's like the men are raised as women. If there's not enough women in the tribe, they're giving women's roles. They're giving like the clothing, the jobs that women typically they give them to them, and like they have sex with men, but the men are still considered straight because in their society, if you're a 5-5 fee, you're a woman. You're not a man. You're a woman.
I've
So it's
never
across
heard of
countries.
that.
It's
So it
different.
just goes to show,
Wow.
like, this is how society
Yeah.
Right.
shapes everything.
It has to do, to me, I feel like it has to do with how you were socialized and conditioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some people
Yep.
may feel like it's okay to be gay, others may feel like, yo, you're going to hell. I just
Yeah.
feel like it has to do with how you're conditioned.
I hate that. Oh, you're going to have
But
to
see, what makes me mad too is like when I was in high school, being gay was like the thing. So some people were like, "Oh, I'm gay," and they really weren't, and it made like those other like real gay people like feel kind of like, okay, you know, you're a poser. You just
Or
don't even
someone-
talk to me about being gay because you don't
Right.
really know how it
Or
feels.
someone turns you gay.
Exactly.
Or something. That's
Ex-
crazy
see,
to
that's-
me.
yeah.
How can someone turn you?
Okay, my uncle's gay, but you would never know. My boyfriend is one of those. It sounds
Macho.
really bad. Really macho, like
Yeah,
outdoorsy.
fine.
Like he looks down on it. He's very like one narrow-minded, and so. But when he first met my uncle, like years and years ago, he couldn't even tell. Like the only reason he could tell was when we went to his house and his boyfriend was there, and he was like, they were holding hands, and my boyfriend was like, wait, what? Like, he freaked out and wanted to get out of there. And I was like, I mean, it's unusual because you don't see it. Like, in certain places, people freak out because they don't see it. And others, I feel like, sometimes are more accepting. But it's still, like, judged upon. Like, it's, I don't know. It's crazy how, like, you're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No, that's bad.
And
No.
when you find, when you're good, and when you don't know, but then when you find out, it's like,
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
he was with Shane, and then he's just like, okay, well, he's like, I'm fine with, like, he was shocked. He's like, I had no idea you were gay.
Yeah.
Until we went to watch him dance. He's like, is he gay? And I was like, yes. And I was like, are you really just not figuring that? He's like, well, he wears like guy clothes and like it's
That's
that's
so
okay.
stereotype. That is
Yes,
such a
I'm expected to be
stereotype.
like, yes, God. I mean,
Exactly.
I am a yes, God gay, but
Yeah. And I feel bad for Shane because it takes a while for him to like warm up to people and just kind of like let them know like he's kind of I don't know, he was judged like when we were in middle school and elementary school he dated girls. And that, and I knew, but I still felt bad.
Right.
He
From a
felt like
young
he
age.
had to,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have to. Cause
And then, like, we got to high school, and he's just like, I'm done with this. And then he finally, like, came out and, like, found out who his real friends were,
that's
Yeah,
how it
so-
works for me.
Yeah.
And his parents pushed him to be something that
Yeah,
he
he
didn't
was
wanna be, 'cause
miserable.
He was
Yeah.
straight A student, and he actually ended up going to Elon. His parents paid for it, and he did the study abroad, and he's like 5 different languages, and he's got all kinds of jobs working
Perfect.
for the school
Yep.
board and stuff. And the whole time we knew from like kindergarten that he was so very
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
a cousin
And-
like that.
And my parents always thought that I should marry him, and they would tell me, "Oh, Jonathan, he's so good for you." And I'm like, "Mama, he's very good." And she knew it, and she's like, "Yes, I know." So, he ended up, and once his parents wouldn't accept it, so when he got out of college, he cut everybody off. Parents, old friends from school, everybody, and now he's
Lives
like
his
this
life.
weird person.
The thing about my friend Shane, like, his parents really didn't know. Like, he really did, like, try to hide it. But when he did finally, like, come out, like, his mom, like, accepted it completely. And,
That's so
and
hard to
he's
get.
my gubby. He's my gay hubby. Like, that's what we call each other. It's, yeah.
I think that's cute.
when I know my family, my sister was telling me from like 8, you're gay. Just come out. She told me, I remember one time she told me, she was like, I'm just waiting for the day you come out and tell me that you're gay. What? I'm not gay because I was taught from a young age, we don't accept gays around in my family or my adopted family. She was very she made it very clear she was a homophobe. So I never really like felt comfortable in myself.
Yeah.
And that's another problem where you don't let somebody express themselves. They don't feel comfortable within themselves. So
Yeah.
I was a very guarded child. I mean, you would see me, I would look happy, but on the inside I was just like,
Just
I don't like any of you people.
Yeah.
Like, leave me alone. So like, but when I finally came out to like, well, my coming out story was I just posted a picture of me in my makeup and was like, well, here it is. My dad, who's a minister at his church, he was just like, well, I still love you because you're still mine.
Exactly.
My mom, she was more so mad because somebody else told her. And she was like, well, why didn't you just tell me?
And why is it
Right.
something to tell?
Right. I was like, I was like, Mom, I thought you already knew. She was like, well, you talked about having a family, and that kind of just like, well, I still can have a family.
So
it's just
you
not
can't- I
a
can't have a family
traditional.
because I'm
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but I know my legal guardian who raised me from the age of 9, she basically like disowned me. She was like, no, like I can't have, this is not okay. But the fact of the matter is, it's something that you can't change. You're either, you either are or you aren't. There is no
and
in between.
Right.
And you know what else I was thinking about, like, just a few minutes ago? You know how when people say, oh, when you come out and say, oh, I'm gay or I'm lesbian or whatever, they think it's something traumatic that has
big
happened
deal,
in your life to cause you to be that way. And that's not always the case.
I was
It's
like,
not.
right, I was
You
asked if
know?
I was molested as a child, and if that was
See,
why I
that's
was
what I'm
gay.
saying. They always think it's something
Right.
traumatic for you.
Or you didn't have this is the most idiotic reasoning behind straight people like, you didn't have a father growing up. I know plenty of gay people who had both parents in their lives.
I know plenty of
like,
heterosexuals who didn't have a father growing up.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
had nothing but
Like,
men in my life. Like I
Yeah.
had 8 different male mentors, all 50 plus.
Yeah.
So I had very dominant, strong heterosexual males in my life.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm still really close with one of my mentors. He's married. He has 3 kids. He's working, and like when I told him, he was just like, I mean, I already knew. Like,
Yeah.
So it's like
They
it's not
still
that
accept
it's not the fact that somebody doesn't, because somebody doesn't have that role model that they're this way. It's just that's who they are. Right. So
Are we on the
yeah.
Okay.
Are we on number 5?
I think we're
Oh, we
on
on number
number
6.
six.
We're on
I
number
think
We
6.
we never answered 5. I
Yes,
don't
we
think.
did.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, we did. Okay, we're on number 6.
All right.
How many questions do we
According to the article, The 5 Sexes, revisited by Anne Sterling, with a world where the variability of gender is so visible, why do you think that medical institutions in the public are so resistant to ideas of gender and sex diversity, or why are we reluctant to move away from the fictional and idealized version of two diametrically opposed sexes? Why do we tend to flatten our gender diversity rather than expand it?
If you're talking straight from the medical field, they're not going to change it till we change it.
Well, I guess
I mean,
you were
that's
saying
true.
according to the article. So let's talk about according to the article, and then we can talk about our own opinions.
Well, we're on number 6. Alright. Okay, it talked about in here something about like norms and how we think about them, and so when we're sitting here thinking about the norms, well, it's really hard to change a norm. Even like, okay, we can start right here. Like all of us could be like, okay, everything's gender neutral, but to get it to the point to where, okay, society accepts it, then like the medical field will accept it, like that's a huge step, and I think it's just so hard for us to spread it out, like, and get everything addressed and everybody to accept it for
Yeah.
it to change.
And then
you know,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
And then when you think about it too, people normally agree with science more than anything else. So when I think about medical, I think about science.
Right.
So, yeah.
And also people know like what they're taught. So if they're not taught to like be accepting and stuff like that, then they just kind of go with what they know and their like values that are instilled in them.
And it's crazy because they
Young
were
child.
like, medical is like saying, okay, well,
Yeah.
this happens like more frequently than you would think. So you would think we would look at the
Would
medical and
go
the
with that.
biology of it and be like, okay, well, this is what happens, and we're just like, oh no, well, you have to fix this because this is a mistake, or they didn't get fully formed, or it's like they're talking about them being deformed, and it's just crazy.
I think it's because even going with like article, she was talking about like I think she said something about like it's like being a male dominated or something like that. And because we live in like a patriarchal society where the men are at the top, we've been in a patriarchal society since the beginning of time, basically. So it's like if it's been passed down that men is at the top, so then it's like we don't want people to go against what was originally stated because that's all we're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then again, it's like I feel like people don't really want this gender thing to come out so bad because they want men still, like, I think males don't want it to come out because they want them to stay in charge. But if you're like having people who's like in between, you have to treat them different than what you're used to, and people get uncomfortable with having to change their idea. You can't change somebody's actions without changing their attitude, and the attitude is still very stubborn. So that's really what's the big idea: is people changing their attitude, their
That's a
mindset.
good point.
Yeah, very good point.
Alright, number 7.
How long have we been running? So Ruby had said 34 minutes. Because remember, if it's too long, we won't be able
We do
to.
35
She
minutes,
said
right?
45.
45. Okay.
Alright, you got this. You got this.
At the end of the article, the 5 sexes revisited and Sterling urges us to move away from a focus on genitals. Why might this hyper focus on genitals keep us stuck in old ways of thinking?
Because historically, men have a
Yeah, I
penis.
kind of feel like it's what we've already
Women
said.
have
Yeah,
a
we
vagina.
already talked about
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this question is kind of redundant.
Yeah.
But, like, if you have certain genitals that can be seen when you take your clothes off, people are going to assume that's your sex and that's your gender.
Right.
But just because I have a penis doesn't mean I was born with a penis. Like, you can get a
Right.
penis attached.
Yep.
Or you can get a vagina made. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hyper focus on genitals keeps us stuck in old ways of thinking. I mean, if we're focusing on that, like you said, like, you are like, you don't identify with male or female, and it's saying like if we focus on genitals, well, it's gonna say you're a male,
right.
and it's not fair, and that keeps us stuck. Like it's like a hard thing to understand because we're like, oh well, this means you're a male. You got to act like a male, like we've been saying, but that's not the case. It's
Unless
just
you're really attracted to someone, why are you focused on their genitals?
yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
that's attraction. Normally, people associate attraction with sex, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the whole focus on genitalia, too, is like biology, like
Yeah.
the biology of everything. And I tied biology back, well, biology is a representation of science. So I tie that back to like, okay, this is why it's right, or this is why it is, stuff like that.
I think it goes back to people and their fear of sexuality. Because, oh, well, she had a vagina, so she must be a woman, so I must be straight. Or it had a penis, so it must be a man, so I must be gay or whatever. So people are so heterosexual males are so afraid of being looked at as other thing other than heterosexuality, because heterosexuality for the longest is homosexuality, anything other than heterosexuality was condemned as bad.
Yeah.
And like it was
It's like
condemned
taboo.
as, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as even sexuality is, you have heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, pansexual, asexual. You have I forgot what it's called, but it's like so
Yeah.
many
So many.
transgender,
Yeah.
transsexual, and I feel
Queer.
like queer, and I just feel like you can't really label one thing, because if someone is a transsexual female and now she's dating a female.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's a lesbian couple because I have two females.
Yeah.
Or if it's like a transgendered male and a male, in my mind, I have a heterosexual
Yeah.
couple because I'm seeing man and woman,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's what I was thought heterosexuality was.
Yeah.
So it just goes back to people and their like fear of being considered anything other than heterosexual. But we have to get to the point where we're just like, we don't care, like. Regardless of how you live your life, at the end of the day, when you die, we're all going to the same place. Either you're going to go before God, and He's going to be like, you lived your life right, and like you followed my commandments, or He's going to be like, you lived your life wrong, and get away from me. So, I mean, but again, that's also religious views coming into
Right.
it.
Exactly. Or you just live a good life.
Right.
You know, you just live a good life. Yeah.
Right.
I just think it's like fun. Like if people are like more like animals, like they don't have like the consciousness to like judge and stuff. And I think it's like clams or something that can go from like male to female and back to male and stuff.
And
it's
worms.
pretty cool.
I know
Yeah.
that sounds weird, but and
Yeah.
worms.
It's,
That's what it's talking about,
we can
how
do
that
that.
comes
You know?
from.
Yeah.
But I know it's like a species of lizards where there are no men in that species of lizard. So the women, like, well, when the lizard's time comes for them to have reproduced, one female lizard will take on like a male and mount the other female and imitate the action of having intercourse.
But they have both organs.
They just
So
have.
how did? Well, I guess they would have
it's just something in their body where like it causes them to reproduce eggs.
Oh.
So like now it's just so again when people say well homosexuality or like this being born outside of male or female isn't natural. When you have cases where you see animals, there are cases of like documented cases of homosexuality in animal species. So apparently it must be natural. It must be
With
occurring.
my dogs, sometimes they're both male, but they still like kind of, you know.
Yeah.
It's on video, melting each other and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, y'all are weird. You know, I mean, it is like a natural instinct for them. So, and it's not more like about like, you know, sex or like, oh, I'm attracted to you. It's about like, okay, it's. I guess like a reproducing kind of
like what
thing.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say.
All right, number 8.
Oh my gosh, we have to talk about this article.
Yeah, 8 is the last one on that article. According to the article, 5 Sexes Revisited, Anne Sterling, how do trans identify persons challenge our conceptions of both sex and gender? Evaluate the suggestions in the International Bill of Gender Rights. Reasonable, possible, impossible. Discuss.
This is going to take us to that 45 minutes. But
Alright, we're just going to talk about really quickly.
The Bill of Rights.
Okay, well, I think that it's possible, but I think it's going to be hard right now to change everything at one time. I think it's going to be a gradual change, but I think it's good. I think people need to like be informed more about it and like starting the process of it. But I just think it might take a little bit to change.
Yeah,
it took us
all
so
perceptions
long to get civil rights movements.
and to like gay marriage finally legal. I mean, it's
I mean, to change something like this is going to take years and years and years, and it's going to take a lot more than what we're doing now, and we can't force it on people, because the fact is, I mean, we force lots of other things on people, and sometimes it works, but when it comes to things like this, it's really affecting lives, and then influencing other people's lives, and it's a major thing. You can't force that through any kind of bill, because it's kind of going to blow up in its own face.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that like eventually it might happen, but it's going to take a long time for it to happen.
And I also think that it has something to do with like, once again, being conditioned, so or socialized. So if you're on the topic of transgender, if you were born a man, then you should live your life as a man. You shouldn't be born a man and live your life as a woman or have surgery to become a woman. I mean, it's just, I feel like it's hard to change people's beliefs because they're so set in their ways.
Yeah, you're right. They're conditioned, and conditioning takes a long time, you know.
Generations,
It takes a long time to do, and then undo is probably even worse.
Yeah.
Like, goodness. All right, number 9.
According to the article, Theorizing Difference from Multiracial Feminism by Baca Zinn and Thornton Deal, how does a multiracial feminist framework offer new theoretical direction in feminist thought? They give you an outside opinion other than the dominant
outside of just white women.
Yeah, white, upper class,
And it has to do with like I think the biggest thing with sociology is like the intersectionality thing of like different dimensions of social categories or identities, you know, exert a certain amount of inequality or oppression. So white feminists might not have the same views or beliefs as a black feminist. So that's to me what it has to do with.
I mean, I feel like to even look at this article, we have to define what exactly feminism is and what it isn't. Because I have so many people who call themselves feminist. The only thing they do is bash men. Yeah, bashing men does not make you a feminist. Exactly. It makes you bitter. But so I feel like when you multiracial feminism is like, because I'm not going to use black, but let's say Asian feminists. What they went through in their home country, or if they were born in America, is completely different than what a Hispanic feminist went through.
Even Indian,
right? Because there are so many facets to life, and some people go through so many struggles throughout their daily whatever that you can't just have one group saying, well, we didn't have this issue of not being able to go in through the front door, so nobody else did. So, you know, the issue is, it's not that we couldn't go through the front door, it's that we had to wait for the men to go through the front door. Yeah. When actuality, a minority, oh no, we couldn't even go through the front door, and
Period.
after we couldn't go
Yeah,
through the right.
Yeah.
So you have to look at everybody.
Yeah. There was a quote in like the first thing that kind of, I think it touched on that question, but it's like, this is a perspective to go beyond a mere recognition of diversity among women, but to examine the structures of the domain. And I like summed it up. I said like race, an understanding of the social construction of gender. So it's like pointing out and saying, okay, well we recognize the diversity, but now we need to do something about it.
Yeah.
I think that's mostly what it's saying. You know.
Yeah.
According to the article, Theorizing Difference from Multiracial Feminism by Zan and Deal, gender studies used to be by, for, her grammar, used to be by, for, and about white women. Now even the terms woman and man are problematic. Explain why these terms might be troubling for us. I know people who say, if I say woman, they get offended. And I just like, well, I mean, if you want to get down to it, you're whatever. But I feel like those terms are problematic because not everybody wants to be called woman or the man. Like, some people, I know some feminists who get offended by calling them female because they feel like it's being oppressed. Like, you're oppressing them by labeling them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Female.
You're putting them into one category.
I get offended by being called girl. I swear to God. They drive by, hey girl, I ain't a girl. I'm a grown woman.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's pretend like I'm not 12.
Right.
I just think it's problematic because you're placing people in back
Gender
into
roles.
yeah,
In their little
category.
boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think all these questions just have like the cornerstone of categorization.
Yeah.
And I think America does it like more so than anybody else.
yeah.
So that's a problem.
Well, I feel like we had a really good discussion.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I think we should cut it here because we do want to have it be able to upload it and for her to see it. I feel like we did hit on some really good points and we did answer a majority. And I think we talked about each one pretty well. But I feel like a lot of these questions are
starting to repeat.
repeat
Redundant,
themselves.
yeah.
So like,
So.
we're going to be saying the same thing over and over.
All right, group A. I like this group.